Hey everyone! So now that I'm retired, I get to do retrospective content, So I figured this would be a fun, obvious one, and I can kind of think of other competitive topics to kind of go over. And this one would be kind of the obvious one, which is, I, as a player, I think players tend to have two kinds of issues when it comes to weapons. Being too scared to pick things up and being too eager to pick things up. Now, personally, I fall into the latter. I have just, full sent it on whatever weapon I really felt like it. Like, obviously, I didn't, grab a terrible weapon and send it, but, I saw Brella in a trailer, and I'm like, yeah, I'll probably play that, and then I played it. I played Expo for a little. I'm like, yeah, I like this weapon, and then I played it. I saw Stamper, and I just played it, and over and over and over again. It's like that. And obviously, if I were to just answer, at the time, would I have been able to make a best decision? Is different than, what would I do with, all the knowledge I have now. But, yeah, let's start at the beginning. Splatoon 1, I played Range Blaster and H3 as my first real mains. I would have, if I could change it, I think that I should have just stuck RB. They're both very different weapons in very different roles, and investing into becoming very good at them was important, and if I just stuck one of them instead of playing both, I would have done better. I also would have actually used quick respawn instead of being too stubborn to use it on these weapons. Great mentality from back then. But I mean, do I regret playing range? No. That weapon was broken, and I like it, and it's fun, and it was really good. So, probably one of the better decisions. In Splatoon 2, I stayed playing range and H3 for far too long. I should have been willing to move to my next weapon. Again, mental not that great back then. Brella. I think this is the weapon that defined my Splatoon 2 career, if I'm being honest. I had other weapons I did well with, but I think Brella was really where a lot of my improvement came in. Where I kind of, jumped up quite a bit. And, yeah, as you might expect, no real regrets here either. I accomplished quite a lot with Brella. If anything, I think my regret is I didn't play it more. There were definitely some times I swapped around weapons a little too much, and I think some of my best results came from when I just played Brella and Kensa Undercover Brella as a weapon duo, which was very similar to each other, obviously, in terms of mechanics, and I just stuck with those. That's where, some of my best results in that time period tend to come in, and I think, very simple reason. Finally, something where I'm less sure now is Explosher. Now, I really liked Explo. Explo is a very fun weapon, and I do think it kind of fits me, but this is also the only anchor I've picked up, which means that if I'm playing this, I'm either only playing Explo, or I'm playing Explo alongside weapons that are very different in terms of roles and messing with comps. And that was absolutely a downside that happened whenever I use this weapon, let alone it eventually becoming harder to use on all modes. Despite that, I still have quite a lot of good results with Explo. It's still a weapon I've done well with. But I think that's more because the weapon was just that insane. Obviously I was good at it, but I think the weapon was also really broken. I think this is one of the ones I probably shouldn't have picked up. I think that I would have improved more individually if I just stuck with Brella. And eventually the next weapon I moved to would be fine later into the game's life. But I think in terms of roles and comps and everything, this was just too different. That said, I don't know. It was still fun. My highest X power in this game is currently sitting on this weapon, which is kind of funny because it was not intended to be a serious grind for XP when I played this weapon. It just kind of happened. I mean, it's still nothing crazy. It's only 3100 JPX rank, but, it's still good. And it's kind of funny that that's where my highest is. Dread should have really been higher, but I don't even know what happened. But yeah, I'd say this is one where I probably shouldn't have picked it up. This should have been a for fun weapon. I should have stuck with Brella. It was better. It fit more. I did overall better with it. And then later is Kensa Rapid Blaster that came out. And Kensa Rapid ended up being my most used single weapon because Brella is spread across two kits. If you count both Brella kits, it's not really close. But I played a lot of Rapid, more than I did both of the Explo kits by a substantial margin. And I don't regret Rapid. Rapid's a blaster. It's like Range Blaster. Playing Rapid and Brella together actually did make quite a lot of sense. My mechanics on both weapons were good. And I generally felt like Kensa Rapid might have been my most individually impressive weapon. I think the highs I got with Rapid were better than Brella. It's hard to say because, of course, I picked up Rapid later into the game's life, so everyone was just better. But I felt like Rapid was a weapon that really fit my type of aiming and moving around. And Kensa Rapid in particular was just such a synergistic kit for me. I can really only nitpick Baller as a balance spot. It fit me really well. And I think, like, doing it alongside Brella made a lot of sense. And, like, I really could have kept those going until the end of the game, which is kind of what I did at some point. It became Brella and Rapid until shooters eventually totally took over. And of course, you know, after Brella's damage nerfs, this made much more sense to play than Brella. So, yeah, I think this fit. It made a lot more sense for me, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And that wraps up the Splatoon 2 life cycle of things. Obviously, I can't mention everything. Like, I played a bit of Luna in S1 or Brush in S2. You know, weapons that I kind of just played, like, for a little bit. Like, Kensa Undercover Brella, I played when it was broken. There's stuff like that that I could talk about, but they're not weapons I spent a whole lot of time on, you know, and they were mostly easy weapons to pick up. Splatoon 3 came out, and I took yet another gamble on a new weapon class with Splatana Stamper. And, man, I don't know. Okay. When Stamper came out, it made the most sense. Like, none of the blasters were really that crazy. Like, range wasn't super worth using in this meta yet, but it wasn't bad. Like, I could have made RB work, and I was playing it. And, like, that's the real one I'm not sure of, because Rapid didn't make a lot of sense, didn't have Rapid Deco, Dread didn't exist, S-Blast didn't exist. So, you know, Brella was terrible, Brella's still not great. So, it made sense to pick up something new, and it's really just, should I have done Machine, since I obviously could play Machine pretty well, and it was probably easier. Should I have gone Range, which not as good as Machine, but not terrible, and, like, I have experience with it. Or was I right to pick up Stamper? I could tell that Stamper was really good when I played it, and I was very right about that. I liked the weapon quite a lot, and I did get some good results with it. But I felt like I was really carried, looking back, by, like, the QR hold forward playstyle. I think mechanically I was never as consistent. I was just really good at utilizing QR and holding forward to get value. I think I did that better than a lot of other players at the time. Because, like, QR's value wasn't really super understood in the era before Cooler. So, like, playing, like, that dive-centric and dying a lot and going in like that was something that not a whole lot of people were doing. Once the meta shifted to where that wasn't how to play Stamper, it got nerfed a bit, stuff like that, my skill with it really started to showcase as, like, not actually being that good. It's like, as much as this is a weapon I like, I'm not sure. That said, like, it carried the enjoyment of this game for me. Like, I liked Splatoon 3, but grinding Stamper was some of the most fun I ever had. Like, the kit is so perfect for this weapon. Like, learning and getting Zipcaster clips of the weapon felt satisfying. You know, playing the weapon and its playstyle was fun. So, like, I don't know if I'd get as far as I did back then, if I didn't play it. So, I debated back and forth a lot, but I think this was probably the right call from a mental standpoint. Individual skill, if I grinded Range or Machine, it probably would have paid off more long-term, so I'm not upset with what I did with Stamper, but I think that it could have been better. So I don't know if I'd list this like Expo, where it's like, yeah, I probably should have just not picked it up in the first place. The situation around the game really did make it seem like a good idea, and, like, you know, maybe I wouldn't have done as well otherwise. So, it's hard to say. But yeah, I'd say very hard to say. Next up is my most controversial weapon pick, because I played S-Blast on launch. And like with Stamper, I'm going to give myself a bit of slack here. By the way, not that one. This one, Battery Slider. I'm going to give myself a bit of slack because this weapon came out and it felt perfect for me. Like, I had to adjust to, like, learning how to shoot and everything. Like, oh my god, shooting with this weapon was really awkward at first, back when people, like, were new to its mechanics. But it felt perfect for me. It felt better than Range Blaster did. I thought it could be stronger. I was definitely wrong. But I thought it could be stronger. And, like, there had been a whole bunch of meta nerfs around the crab meta changing and QR, like, cooler being better, which boosted Blaster's power a lot, and I started to, like... I made the decision to full send S-Blast, and we had those NA Open runs that we almost made top 4, but didn't. And I think there were larger factors to our loss than the weapon. I don't think this was really the main reason. But I can think back of a few moments that would have been better. Mainly if I had a special that wasn't Reef Slider, or even just didn't press the Reef Slider button. And I mean, investing in S-Blast long-term would have definitely still been a good idea, but that's by pure circumstance. Like, no way of knowing back then that this would become really broken, you know? So, I mean, would I have done better on something else? I'm not sure. My skill with Stamper was really starting to drop off. I wasn't keeping up as well with it in cooler meta, so if I played Sword, there's a chance I'd just perform mechanically worse than a weapon that fits me better, which was the whole issue I had with Sword earlier that we just talked about. The other option was Machine, and if I was playing Machine, I was dealing with a 5-frame nerf that, like, yeah, people were still playing it back then, but, you know, became very clear from the future that it was the wrong call to stick with Machine. If anything, what could have been the better call is sticking with Range Blaster, because Range Blaster is what ended up being really good from here. And, like, this was about the point where Range started to, like, you know, really thrive. It was good into Jetpack, it was good with QR, stuff like that. And I tried a little bit of Range, but I liked the S-Blast feel better at the time. But Range probably would have made a lot more sense. Wave was a much better special at the time. I had a Bomb. So, if I went the path where I stuck Range Blaster and I would have kept going with Range, I think there's a high chance that we would have done, like, good enough to qualify. And that alone would have made this a regret. But when I'm, like, coming from being a Stamper player into being a Blaster player, then maybe this did make more sense. I clicked with it better, and I did well with it. It also had, like, the unfamiliarity factor that, like, threw a lot of teams off. I had, like, a lot of good plays into Starburst. So, I don't know. I would say, overall, I regret it. Overall, I wish I was just playing Range, but a lot of that is, like, hindsight, so I don't know. If I had to, like, pick and choose right now, I'd say, yeah, I overall regret playing S-Blast back then. I wish I did something else. We'll say that as well. Kind of similar to Stamper. After that, I played Range again in S3. Don't regret it. I was mechanically struggling with it eventually, but, like, good decision for me, and I did have quite a while to where my Range was performing up to par. Eventually, I fell behind, but for a while, I was, like, doing good with it into all the best teams, so, like, I felt like I had a good era where my Range was, you know, working properly. So I don't really regret that. And then last up is this thing. Is Dreadringer. I don't regret picking up Dread at all. Obviously not. I mean, it's a huge part of my story that this was the weapon that got me back into higher results again, and I felt really consistent with. And even now, like, just picking up and playing the weapon, it just feels right. Like, it feels intuitive, it feels simple to use. Like, I'll get on this game, and because I'm not playing as much, it'll feel a little awkward. There'll be, like, this little bit of rust, but when I play this weapon, most of that goes away. I can tell that this is, like, by far what I'm most familiar with, and this is probably the weapon that fits me best. Now, the kit doesn't fit me best, but the main weapon, like, this is, like, tied with Old Brella for being what fit me best, and Old Brella was really good compared to this. So I think this weapon is probably, like, my best weapon. It allows me to be supportive and aggressive. It's a midline. It checks all the boxes for me. Absolutely no regrets. Great decision. Worked out very well for me. Final question. If I wasn't retired, what would I play now? Probably, I could just stick with Dread. I mean, no real reason not to. But, I have gotten a little bored of it before I stopped playing. Not enough to, like, be the reason behind retirement or anything. I don't want to throw that in there. However, there has been a weapon that's been piquing my interest a bit, and it looks so fun to play, and that's Recycle. I think if I was actively grinding the game and I could put time into really getting over this weapon's learning curve, I think I would play Recycle. I think it's good enough to do well, and it makes a lot of sense transferring. In the same way that Rapid made a lot of sense after playing Range in S1, I think going from Brella in S2 to Recycle in this game also makes a huge amount of sense. And I would have probably started to do that or play Dread at this point. So, that's fun to think about. I hope someone pushes this weapon, though, because, like, I would love to do it, but I am retired. So someone else must do it, and I hope someone does, because this weapon is very interesting. And if it does happen, hey, I'll have a story to tell in a YouTube video. But yeah, overall, I would say that, you know, despite obviously not being totally happy with all of my choices, that ultimately trying to find weapons that I liked and push options worked out well for me. I don't know if that means it'd work out for everyone, obviously, but I do think that, for me, this was the right decision that I needed to do. And even some of the choices I regret had their advantages. I was pretty good at old S-Blast. I was good with Expo. I got a lot of results done with Stamper. So, like, even the decisions I regret, it's not like it, like, ruined that part of my career or anything. I still had a lot going for me with that. So, yeah, I mean, overall, that's my thoughts looking back. Kind of interesting to think about. And, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll see y'all later. Bye.